Thanks to everyone for joining us today to talk about negotiating the best deals with Oracle. So we have a interesting graphic here. I tried to make this presentation as zen as possible. I know that negotiating with Oracle can be highly stressful and fraught with traps and gotchas and timelines and deadlines and emails and texts and all of that, and sometimes careers are made or broken depending on what you do with Oracle. And companies invest a lot in Oracle and also invest a lot in being able to have the freedom to do what they want when they want. So that's what we want to talk about today. So in today's presentation, I'll do a quick introduction of myself, as well as the company, Palisade Compliance. And then we'll talk about, what exactly is a good deal with Oracle and what is the best deal that you can get with Oracle. And then we'll talk about the keys to getting that deal. And then finally, we'll wrap up with, the process that we've put together that we think results in the optimal conclusion to a negotiation, whether that is an actual deal with Oracle or something else. So Palisade Compliance, I started the company back in 2011. For 16 years before that, from 1995 until 2011, I actually worked at Oracle. I started as a contract specialist, drafting license agreements for the New York City Metro sales team, and worked my way up through the organization. And pretty much the last 10 years I was there, I was Oracle's global vice president of contracts and business practices. I was the global process owner for their LMS audit team, sat in their CIO advisory board. Had a pretty significant role. Pretty much anything you bought from Oracle, all of those contracts that you're negotiating globally went through my organization. Had about 1,200 people working for me, all around the world. Left Oracle in 2011 to start Palisade. And the interesting thing here is when I initially left and started the company, my first business plan was to help businesses negotiate new deals with Oracle. And it was just going to be me and no team. And I thought I could hang out a shingle and really help organizations do that. And that was a good business, but you really had to time it correctly, because often what I would hear is, I wish I knew about you 6 months ago. I wish I knew about you a year ago. And can you help me with this audit? Can you help me with this compliance bit? Can you help me reduce my Oracle costs? So, we learned that there are a lot of companies out there who help you spend more with Oracle. There weren't really a lot to actually help you spend less with Oracle. So we built the business from there. And contract negotiations and negotiations in general with Oracle are involved in pretty much every single engagement we have. So we've got about 400 clients around the world, and many of them are repeat customers ongoing for years and years. We're constantly helping them renegotiate support agreements, negotiating license deals, cloud deals. So tons and tons of experience. This quarter alone, we're working on over $250 million in Oracle negotiations as a company. So pretty significant investment that we've made in that. And then obviously we do audit defense, ULA certifications. A lot of customers come to us and just ask, we want to move to the cloud. What's the best way to do that? And again, all of those things involve negotiating with Oracle. What makes Palisade different? The biggest things are, we're completely independent of Oracle. We are not an Oracle partner or reseller. We're not anti-Oracle. We're not pro-Oracle. We're just pro-client, and we'll do whatever we need to do to help our client advance their goals. So if that means you want to spend more with Oracle, great. We're going to help you do that the best way possible. If that means you want to spend less with Oracle, that's great too. I mentioned my experience, but it's not just me. Our contracts department at Palisade averages over 20 years experience per individual. So we've got a pretty strong organization there. And obviously we've got some former Oracle LMS folks. We just focus on Oracle and all the companies that they've acquired. We're not a jack of all trades. We're not going to help you with Microsoft. We're not going to help you with Salesforce. We've invested heavily in our technology, whether that's contract analysis technology, which nobody else has, or the ability to understand your compliance position, discovery tools, license analysis, things like that. And then the last thing we believe sort of separates us is our client testimonials. So you can see just some of the quotes from our customers, and you can see a list of some of our clients there. And then this quote on the right from Wayne Andrews, the CFO at University of Sydney, he just posted that yesterday on LinkedIn. So I thought I'd just grab that and show you guys what all we can do. And that's the end of the Palisade commercial. So I thought I would ask 2 poll questions to really help focus this conversation for today. So Marissa, if you can bring up the first poll question, what is your role in your current company in relation to Oracle negotiations? And then the second question is, are you currently negotiating with Oracle? And that list you can scroll down if you can't see. So, we often see that there are many people, many different people in the negotiation process with Oracle. Oracle sales is sort of famous or notorious, depending on your point of view, for reaching out to different people. If you're in procurement, they'll try to go around you. They'll try to go above you. They'll try to go through you. If sometimes you're in IT, you could be a DBA talking to Oracle. Sometimes you could be a VP of technology. Sometimes Oracle's working with the legal. So lots of different folks involved in that process. And then the second question is, are you currently negotiating with Oracle? So there's a whole bunch of yeses, and we're looking to close soon, or no, we're not. So on the what is your role, it's interesting, we've got a wide variety here. We've got a split evenly between 4, sales, vendor management, technical, and procurement. So just like I said, lots of different folks are in that process talking to Oracle about negotiations. And then as far as where are you in your negotiations, I love it. Yes, Oracle is an endless cycle of negotiations. It just never ends. So, and that, if you're a consumer of Oracle products, you've got licenses, you've got cloud, you've got technical support, you've got agreements coming up, throughout the year at different times. And then even after you've signed them, Oracle's looking for the next one. So they're constantly coming after you. So no surprises there. So we'll leave this, we won't focus sort of on any one area in terms of roles, but we'll leave this presentation generic so we can cover all of them. So what is the best deal with Oracle? Well, simply put, we've got 2 answers here when you think about the best deal with Oracle. Really, the first answer is when you can make a fully informed decision, which gives you the freedom to buy the Oracle products and services that you want, when you want, using the contract vehicle you want, with the pricing and terms that you want. And those things are different for every customer. Some customers focus on the discount percentage. It's really important we get this discount percentage higher. Other customers focus on the license flexibility. We're doing mergers and acquisitions. We want to make sure we don't get stuck in this cycle. Other customers, it's more of a combination. Your ability to execute or achieve the best deal here really depends on your position. So I told you there were 2 answers to this. So the best deal you can get is this fully informed decision with the freedom to do all these different things, or it's the best deal you can do in your current position, right? So there's a famous saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, so you have the tree. The second best time is today. So wherever you are in your journey with Oracle, the best time to apply some of the learnings that we'll talk about here is right now, and it's never too late. So we're in the middle of July. We've got another month and a half for Oracle's fiscal year. So if you are one of those folks who are currently negotiating a contract to close in the next 6 months, hopefully you'll learn something here that you can apply to not only make your life easier over the next few months, but also to make the outcome more optimal for you. So when I think about the keys to getting that good deal, I put it into these 3 buckets: knowledge, leverage, and process. And all of them are key. All of them are important. All of them sort of have different benefits, and we'll talk about them, and then we'll talk about, well, what happens if you don't have them? So knowledge, that's a pretty broad area, right? So I just put some buckets here. So knowledge about Oracle is key. And so I don't have separate slides here to talk about customer successes. So I sort of wanted to intersperse, without the names, different examples of how we're helping customers or how these concepts have helped customers. So knowing about Oracle is key. Knowing about, and when I say knowing about Oracle, sorry, I mean both their practices, their policies, their pricing, what motivates their sales teams, what their product roadmaps are. Really understanding Oracle is key, but then also knowing yourself, understanding what your goals and plans are as an organization, not just from a technical perspective, but as a corporate perspective. Are you growing by acquisition? Are you growing organically? Are you going to be in the mode of divesting? Do you have new products coming to market? Is it steady state? How's COVID-19 impacting you? Because that could, change or alter some of your contract requirements. And then the bottom one here, and you're going to hear me talk a lot about this, is compliance. Understanding your compliance position is really, really important. So let's talk about practices and policies of Oracle. I want to give you a specific example because we've seen this over and over. As Oracle customers, one of the big things that we're constantly asked is, how can we reduce our Oracle tech support costs? And when you look at how Oracle supports their customers through their Premier support and then extended support and then sustaining support, it's really expensive. And then as time goes on, it gets more expensive and you get less stuff. So extended support comes after sustaining support, and it has less stuff in it than it comes after Premier support. So Premier is the ultimate, then you get less stuff with extended, and then you get less stuff with sustaining, and each one has its own cost structure. So we help the clients, and Oracle's using extended support instead of to help customers, which is what it initially was, to sort of assure customers that they will have access to product updates and security patches and things like that over the life cycle of that software. Oracle's now using it as a weapon against customers. So what they're saying is, if you don't sign this next big license deal, we're going to start charging you more money for support, and you're going to get less stuff. So, I think it's 20% or 10% above the Premier support number. So Oracle's using that, and what happens is customers don't understand how Oracle prices that. So we just walked a customer through. Oracle's putting a $40 million number in front of a client. This was last quarter. Around extended support and the new ULA and all that. And we, educated the client on how Oracle prices extended support and what their exposure was. It was like a $2 million exposure, if that much. So gave the customer a lot of leverage where all of a sudden they were thinking, I have to spend $40 million with Oracle, and do this new ULA, or, hey, I've got this alternative. I can get out of the ULA and give Oracle $2 million for this extended support. So really tilted the scales in favor of the customer. Mergers and acquisitions and really looking internally is critical to getting the best deal. Like I said before, many customers focus on the discount, but they don't understand the customer definition is critical. So it would be very easy for me to help a client in a negotiation and get a few more points on the discount, but really limit the license grant, so that if you did a merger or acquisition or divestiture, you were locked in, right? And you had to give Oracle more money. So the goal there with those terms is that you're not locked in, that you have the freedom to do what you need to do as a company without, number one, most important, paying Oracle more money, and then hopefully, number two, with the ability to reduce your cost, right? So you're a big company, you do a divestiture, now you want to give that divested entity those licenses and the support, but it doesn't flow because your contract says, you spend $1 million, you divest half your company. Now Oracle wants you to spend $1 million and wants that other company to spend $1 million. So, you think 1 + 1 should equal 1.5. Oracle thinks 1 + 1 should equal 3. So really understand where you're going. And often we see those folks in procurement, vendor management, even legal, might not understand the importance of those things that could bite them 2 or 3 years down the road. Oracle sales motivation is key, and the reason I put this up here is there have been some changes in Oracle sales recently. So this is sort of hot off the presses as their fiscal year ended at the end of May, and the new fiscal year started in June. We've seen a little bit difference in behavior where Oracle sales reps used to be paid on license and cloud revenue. Now we're seeing sort of that being split out again. So you've got licensed sales teams on one hand, cloud sales teams on the other, and you can play them off against one another, which is the good news. The bad news is you might not be able to leverage a cloud deal to fix a compliance position as easily. So we're not sure how that's going to play out yet. We'll constantly test the waters and throw out new ideas and new ways of working with Oracle to prove out some of those theories and see how Oracle behaves. And then finally, like I mentioned before, compliance is really key. In some cases, I don't even care what your compliance position is. The only thing I really care about is that you know it. Whether you're in compliance or out of compliance, we want you to know it. The worst case is when you just don't know, right? When a client comes to us and says, I have no idea if I'm in compliance, because they might have done all the work to be there and be in a good spot with their licensing, but because they lack the confidence or lack the knowledge, they're much more likely to bow to what Oracle wants them to do and may be forced to buy a cloud deal that they didn't want to get rid of a perceived compliance problem. We're seeing this especially in the Java world, where we're not seeing official Oracle audits, but we're seeing a lot of customers really worried about their compliance position, which puts them in a spot where they have no leverage, or they perceived no leverage. So they're spending millions of dollars on Java deals that they might not have to, just because they're worried. And that's probably the worst reason to spend money with Oracle, is because you don't know and you're worried. Now, I've talked about leverage in terms of making sure you have knowledge. Like the Java is definitely an area where we see leverage shifting depending on people's confidence in their compliance position. But again, compliance pops up here as well, and I mentioned it just a second ago. Know your position. Obviously, the best position to be in is to be compliant with your agreements. So, the best case I can give you here in terms of an example of an Oracle customer is the city of Denver. So a couple of years ago, Denver is not a client of ours, but we did receive a call from a reporter, a CBS reporter in Denver, who said, you know what, Denver's spending millions of dollars with Oracle, and we don't know why. Can you help us? I thought, great, there's an opportunity to grab a microphone and do some investigation and maybe help out the city of Denver. So they sent us through a Freedom of Information Act request, all of the emails, or many of the emails between Oracle and city of Denver and some internal emails with the city of Denver. And we pieced together a timeline where Oracle went in there, didn't even finish the audit, didn't even complete the audit, but at least got the city of Denver worried enough that they agreed to, number one, sign a ULA and give Oracle millions of dollars. Number two, lock in all their support forever. And number three, sign a cloud deal that they didn't want to save money on a potential non-compliance issue. And it's clear as day in the emails from Oracle how they spell out, hey, listen, just buy cloud for a year and you're going to save money on the licenses. And of course, that's what Denver did. So having a compliance position and knowing that compliant position is the first key to giving you leverage. Then we talk about alternatives to Oracle. And this could be, I just put up technical options here, of technical alternatives. So for support, it could be Rimini Street. For the database, it could be Postgres. It could be Enterprise DB. For cloud, it could be Google. It could be Amazon. It could be Microsoft, IBM. If you're forced to use an Oracle product, if you're a complete red stack with no options, then you have much less leverage, right? So if you have the ability, we don't need Oracle database for this project, we can use this alternative. You're going to get a much better deal on your Oracle. Or, we have excess licensing because we've done such a great job managing our compliance position, so we don't have to buy more Oracle now. We could repurpose some of these licenses. Really important, in your contracts, that if you are going to move to Oracle ERP, a cloud, make sure you've got price holds and things like that, because once you're on Oracle's cloud, it's very difficult, especially if you're in one of these SaaS applications, say human capital management. You can't just decide to move off the next day. That takes a whole process. And you're going to end up paying Oracle more. So it's really important to have those price holds in there up front, especially with cloud. You get one opportunity to really negotiate those pricing in earnest. After that, it's really around the edges unless you're willing to sort of pull the plug. Now, I'm not talking about infrastructure as a service or anything like that. Definitely seeing customers make that move. Interesting with the alternatives, we have one client who, they were not our client at the time. They bought all these licenses from Oracle, on-prem licenses, and they went to Oracle Cloud. And rather than bringing their own licenses, they terminated all their licenses and turned that into cloud subscription fees for whatever reason. Now they're looking to move to AWS. And guess what? They have no licenses. So if they want to move to off of the Oracle Cloud, which they desperately want to do for whatever reason, they're in a position now where they have to re-buy all of those licenses. So don't do something that will terminate your old agreements or put you in a less viable position in terms of your freedom of movement. Often we'll see customers, they're in there negotiating like crazy with Oracle. What they're doing is they keep digging. They're in a hole and they just keep digging. And sometimes you just want to say stop. And then finally, when you think about leverage, think about alternatives think about timing. End of quarter, end of year is still your opportunity and Oracle's problem. Oracle likes to sort of flip that around because they want you to think about, let's say, May 31st. May 31st, if you don't do this on May 31st, the deal goes away. Really bad things are going to happen. But we like to focus Oracle on the day after the end of the quarter, the day after the end of the fiscal year. Because Oracle is going to take your money later, and you might have a different sales team. So always putting that clock on Oracle. If that deal doesn't sign, in this instance, we're in Oracle's first quarter. If you don't sign it by the end of August, you'll sign it in September. Remember that picture, the first picture in our webinar, sort of the Zen rock garden. That's what I want folks to think about with Oracle. All of that pressure that's on for the end of quarter, that's all artificial. That's all on Oracle. That has nothing to do with you or your business. Now, you might have your own timing and pressure. You might have, the end of the calendar year might be your fiscal year, or a different month might be your, and you might have to use budget and money and do things for your accounting but those are your problems, right? So, but don't use, Oracle's really good at making their problems your problems. And you just want to take that Zen approach and, constantly remind Oracle that you're going to be here the next quarter, you're going to be there the next fiscal year. And I don't care if it's an audit, if it's a ULA, if it's a cloud deal, don't sign the deal until you get the pricing and terms that you want. So I've got two slides here on the process. And the first slide is the textbook answer. Remember, we said leverage, knowledge, and process. And just a reminder, if you've got questions, I think some were submitted before. There's an opportunity here, just put them in the chat. We'll make sure, because we're gonna have some time at the end that we'll answer them. As far as the process goes, we're gonna see a nice visual of that on the next slide. But a couple of things, and this you can do right now, right? So if you are in a negotiation with Oracle and looking to close at the end of August, for example, you are probably in a position where Oracle is sending you PowerPoints, setting up meetings, sending you emails, text messages, whatever, trying to get you to agree to something in PowerPoint or email. We've got this great idea. My favorite is, we're gonna help you lower your support costs. And they create these big PowerPoints. And then when you get the contract, you say, oh, wow, that's a lot different than I was expecting. And not that the sales teams at Oracle are trying to lie to you, but A, they often don't know it, the details of how these things work. And B, that whole process of getting you an agreement, they're not drafting it. They've got to send that off to someone else, who sends it off to someone else, who approves it. And then whatever you end up getting might be very different than what they asked for. So you want to start early in the process with getting Oracle off of PowerPoint and getting it into, a Microsoft Word-like application where you can edit it, right? You don't want it locked. You don't want a PDF. The more cycles you have with Oracle, Oracle is great at giving you that contract. So let's play out, the last day of August. On August 24th, giving you that agreement, and then you have a week to go through terms and conditions. And every cycle is important with Oracle. So if they get it to you at the end of August, you might have only time for one cycle of negotiations. If you get it today, you could have 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 cycles. And every time you go back and forth, the deal gets better and better and better. So the more cycles, the better. I'm sorry that it has to be that way, but that's what Oracle does to you. Give Oracle a calendar. So again, Oracle is very good about, we want this deal to sign by July 20th or August 1st. And we're going to give it to you before then, and we need your commitment. And we just want to take that, crumble it up, and throw it in the wastebasket, the virtual wastebasket. And you give Oracle a timeline based on your needs. So Oracle, I need the Word document by August 1st. It's going to take me 1 week to review it. And you have 2 days to get it back to me. If you take more than 2 days, I've got this scheduled to close on the last day of August, but if you give me a delay, it's going to move into September and October and wherever. So it's really important that you give Oracle a full calendar. If you want us to do a deal, here are the timelines, because we have, as the client, internal approvals. We have to figure out the budgeting. We have, all these things that we need to do. And then obviously, understand the possibilities. That goes a little bit back to knowledge as well. There are many different ways to contract with Oracle. It doesn't have to be a EULA. It doesn't have to be a perpetual EULA. That's sort of the new one that we see. It could be a regular order form. You could be going through a reseller or a partner. You might want to go direct. And then as far as the pricing goes, go first. I know in negotiation school, they say the party that goes first loses. They blink. But you have to understand, Oracle pricing is made up. It's a fiction, right? There is a price list, but database pricing, $47,500 per core, has been the same for 10, 15 years. And can you name me any other product that hasn't changed price? The reason Oracle database pricing is so high is actually to help lock you into paying high support costs should you try to cancel licenses in the future. So the discounting is all over the place. You can get a 1% discount, you can get a 99% discount, and anything in between. So build the value of the deal. And one question we always ask is, what's the cost of not doing the deal, right? Every time we get a client who says, well, am I getting a good deal? I said, well, what happens if you don't sign this deal? Like, what will you have to do? Will you have to buy more licenses in the future? We have to port some application off of Oracle. We have a product delay, so it costs you revenue. We have to train your team on a different database. Who knows? But what's the cost of not doing this deal? That's a really good baseline when you're talking to Oracle about the value, right? Because what Oracle wants to do is take discounts, core counts, and percentages. They talk value, but they price on list fees and discounts. So you want to go first, build the value. So think about this. Oracle comes and says, this is $10 million, right? And let's say you negotiate down from there and you get a $5 million deal. So you think, hey, I did a great job on procurement. I got the cost cut in half. Well, what if the value to you was only $1 million or $2 million? Well, then you just paid $5 million for $2 million of value. So you just don't want to look at the percentage discount. And again, the ability, the alternatives, the ability to walk away is key. If you can walk away from a deal with Oracle, wherever it is in their fiscal year, and it might not be no forever, but it might be no for now, you're going to see the cost of that deal go way down. So now here's a real world answer on the process, and I want to visually show you the Oracle process for negotiations, as well as sort of the process that we recommend. So when you think about, let's say we start on the left, and that's today, end of quarter is the end of August. This is typically how Oracle works, where they'll send you a PowerPoint in the middle of the quarter, and then they'll update the PowerPoint, and they'll update the PowerPoint again, and at some time near the end of the quarter, like I said before, they're going to send you the contract. In between all those documents is going to be just a barrage of emails, meeting requests, text messages, And we had one customer said in the 3-month span, they got over 1,000 contacts from an Oracle vice president. And that was email and text messages. They showed me the text. It was crazy. And one customer told us they have 41 salespeople at Oracle who touch their account. So imagine 41 people at Oracle. They're not going to all barrage you about the same deal, but you're going to get multiple touch points from different levels at Oracle. And it just, remember I said about the intensity increases at the end of the quarter. So that pressure from Oracle just goes up and up and up and up. And you know, for the 50% of you all who said you're in a constant cycle of negotiations with Oracle, that means you're on the right-hand side there. We're just constantly getting inundated from the Oracle bus for requests. So you really want to put some structure around that. So when I talked about, you know, getting the contract early, putting up a schedule to Oracle, that's meant also not only to get you the best deal, but to get you a better quality of life so you don't have to deal with this nonsense from Oracle salespeople. So our approach is a little more structured. If you were our client and you were negotiating a deal at the end of August, first thing we would tell you is, I don't care what Oracle says in PowerPoint, have them send you the contract, right? A Word document that you can edit with a signature block and the pricing and the terms so that we can see everything Oracle's offering you. And there'll be a lot of grinding and gnashing of teeth from Oracle. So in a perfect world, we would have asked for that, you know, at the beginning of the month of July, because it's going to take Oracle a couple of weeks. They're not going to know how to respond to that, right? How do we get this to them? They haven't even agreed to it yet. I need approvals. So we want to force them to sort of do some work internally to reduce that stress. And we want to get off PowerPoint as quickly as possible. We want to start with that contract. And each time it says contract, that's a cycle, right? You get the contract, you review it, you give your requirements back to Oracle, and then you have a meeting about it, right? So you want to go through that cycle, and it doesn't have to be a meeting every single time. Sometimes red lines go back and forth. Sometimes Oracle says no, and then you just push back and say, okay, I'm not signing it then. So, you know, but this is a best case scenario. You can see it's a lot more structured, a lot more ordered, and guarantee you will not only get a better price, but you will definitely get much better terms and conditions. And then let's look at, you know, after the end of the quarter, you know, what happens there? In the Oracle process, it is the complete end of the world, right? The Oracle sales reps are saying, you have to sign this, like I said before. If you don't sign this at the end of May, if you don't sign this at the end of the quarter, really bad things are going to happen. I can't promise you this discount. The audit team's going to come in here. You're going to get a letter from legal. That's my favorite, right? The legal threat, right? Because we say, great, have them call us and we'll talk to them about whatever issue it is, right? And you almost never actually get someone from Oracle Legal. They have a terrific reputation, but their legal teams are pretty conservative in when they'll push the envelope with customers who are very knowledgeable. Now, you take the Palisade process, and if you don't sign, well, you continue the conversations in the next quarter if you want, or you decide that Oracle can't meet your business and financial and terms and conditions needs, and you're going to use a different product, or you're not going to go forward with Oracle for that. You'll be able to use an alternative, maybe something you already bought from Oracle, previous licenses. So the process doesn't really change if you decide not to sign that deal. So really putting this sort of structure in your relationship with Oracle, like I said, not only because probably your whole job isn't negotiating with Oracle, especially if you're in procurement. You probably have 100 different vendors. And the last thing you want is be stuck in that cycle up there with Oracle, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, when you're trying to do 20 other things, right? And Oracle's counting on that. Oracle's counting on that it's not your only deal that you're working on at that time, so you're not going to have as much time and effort to put into it. This is why you need to set aside your own time, set aside your own structure, and push that on the vendor. And this is good for any vendor. It's not just Oracle, right? So if you've got other folks who are doing this to you, you can use this methodology with them as well. So then the question, comes, well, what happens if I don't have knowledge, leverage, and a good process in place, right? So remember we talked about how to get the best deal? Well, this is the second part, right? Well, do the best you can where you are. So the first thing is, and this is, back to our Zen approach of negotiating with Oracle, don't worry, because almost every client that we work with is in that position, right? They don't have all these things. everyone who deals with Oracle, you're not going to know as much about Oracle's contracts as Oracle does, right? We do. We know more because we've seen it over the years, right? But you're all dealing with multiple different vendors. Unless you have a dedicated team of, contracts people with 10 years experience who just know Oracle, you're never going to have as much knowledge as Oracle. It's a rigged game, right? And they know that. But that's the same with any vendor. So first is don't panic, don't worry. Very few people. Let's go through the list. The first thing is knowledge can be acquired quickly, right? So obviously that's our business is helping customers, educate them and guiding them through. So you can get help quickly to help you and assist you wherever you are in that negotiation, right? So, we've got clients now who are like, hey, I'm trying to sign a deal in August and we're trying to sign that client this week. So, we can help pretty quickly do that. Obviously it's very difficult. You can go scour the internet. You can find information for free. We've got a web portal for online classes. So there's tons of information. The problem is it's almost an overload of information. When I started Palisade, there were probably 2 or 3 companies out there who said they helped you with Oracle licensing. Now there are 50 companies out there who say in one way or another that they're going to help you with your Oracle contracts. Most of those companies are Oracle partners, Oracle themselves, Oracle resellers, tool providers, 2 guys in a spreadsheet, things like that. So you just want to be careful because there's also a lot of bad information out there. So there's a lot of free information out there, a lot of bad information out there. So, take care of that. The process I walked you through, you can force that on the vendor, starting today. If you walk away with nothing from this meeting, just walk away with no more PowerPoint and yes to word processor, Word documents, right? So, you can force that process on the vendor, whether it's Oracle or anybody else. And then the key, though, is developing leverage, right? So that takes a little bit of time. You can't just create leverage by snapping your fingers, right? So leverage is, understanding the timing, understanding the motivation of the sales teams, making sure you're in compliance, making sure you've got other alternatives, be those technical or business alternatives to what Oracle wants you to do. And if you don't have leverage, you can always bluff, right? So we've seen that before where customers sort of go right to the end and they sort of bluff their way to get a better deal. So in the worst case, if you don't have the knowledge and you don't have the process, you just sort of wing it and see what you can do. And sometimes that works out. Usually it doesn't because that's how Oracle gets you, right? Because if you're out of compliance and you try to bluff them, then they're going to take your bluff and it might not work out well for you. So, here's what we recommend, obviously, in terms of, where you are today and getting that best position. So if you're in this process negotiating with Oracle, ask yourself those questions. Are we in compliance? Do I have an alternative? What is the cost of not doing this deal? That's a great question. You should always ask before you sign it. If you're in software asset management or even procurement, what Oracle's putting in front of us, how are we going to manage that, right? How are we going to make sure we don't have to buy more later? What's the implications 3 years from now of signing this deal? Oracle's very transaction focused, very deal focused. They actually call their team the deal team. So it's not about relationships, it's about what's the next deal. So, you want deal managers, they call them. So you just want to ask yourself those questions before you sign and get those terms and conditions in there that are required, right? That's where that knowledge comes in. What will Oracle do? What language will they insert in their agreements? What can you get them to agree to? Those are all the types of things. And then obviously going back to discount, how much can we push this? Can we get a better discount somewhere else? That's where the knowledge is really key based on your situation. So I want to thank everyone for your time here. I know we've got some questions, but before we get into them, obviously, we're here running a business. We want to help you with your Oracle. So if you actually need help with your Oracle negotiations and cost reduction or compliance, please reach out to us at Palisade Compliance. If you're more the self-service type and you want to sort of gain knowledge on your own, we've created, paliversity.com where you can sign up and take our online courses. about negotiating with Oracle, all the different contract models, how to stay in compliance, all those things we talk to clients about every day. We've got different subscription levels, so you get access to up-to-date webinars once a quarter, twice a year, and even access to some Palisade services. So if you want to do that, you can do that. So without further ado, Marissa, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yes, we have a couple in. Our first question, we've noticed that each contract has different pricing for the same content. Why is that?
Well, like I said, Oracle's very deal motivated, right? So they don't view you and I say, we cash these, we say these broad things, like they don't value your relationship. They just want that next deal. And what I mean by that is the salesperson gets paid on that deal. So if you have leverage and it's the end of a quarter and that sales rep maybe isn't making their quota, they might be more incented to give you a huge discount to what we say, pull the deal forward, right? So something you might have been thinking about buying in November, but they give you a really sweet deal and you buy it at the end of August instead. You help out the Oracle sales rep, you get a better discount, you lower your support costs for that purchase. Or you're out of compliance and you have to buy something from Oracle at the end of August, or they're going to hit you with a $50 million non-compliance bill. Right? You're not going to get as good of a discount. So you could have database, you have 2 contracts with Oracle months apart with vastly different discounts for the same product. Now, when you talk about one contract, you can even, in that, you have database and middleware and EBS or cloud, all those different products and services. There are different margins and different rules that Oracle has. And some of those products might even have royalties being paid to other companies. So Oracle can't provide the same discounts, right? So, we've seen that in the past. So many, many different reasons. This is why, we sort of have to caution customers who say, I've got a great relationship with Oracle. I'm going to get a good discount. So forget the relationship with Oracle. Think about your leverage, right? How can you maximize your leverage so that on this deal, you get the best discount? So I think that sort of explains why there are variations in discounts.
Great. So our next question, is it better to buy new licenses or pay the retainment fee?
So I think that's probably reinstatement fee, and often that's a math problem. There's 2 components to this. What would be the reinstatement fee? So this is the question, I think, is bought some Oracle licenses, we went off of Oracle support, we now need support, Oracle wants to try the reinstatement or back support fees. Should we do that or should we buy new licenses? And there's 2 components to that answer. One is the math component. Doing, if you can get a great deal on the licenses, and actually lower your support costs, why are you going to, reinstate those licenses? So you've got that, and you've got the terms and conditions component. Unfortunately, Oracle contracts are getting much more restrictive or anti-customer over the years. So if you've got old Oracle licenses, 10, 15, 20, even 30 years ago, it might be better for you to reinstate those licenses and pay the additional support costs because you're going to have those terms and conditions. Things like concurrent licenses, old named user licenses are really valuable. There's a reason why Oracle doesn't sell those licenses in that manner anymore, is because they were really good for the customer and not so good for Oracle. So the newer stuff that you're buying from Oracle tends to not have as good of terms and conditions. So anytime you can retain those old terms and conditions, great. Unless the math is sort of prohibitive and it becomes way too expensive to keep them.
Great, thank you. And now we have one final question. Do you have any tips or recommendations on support renewal negotiations to avoid repricing?
That's the number 1 question we get. How do I reduce my Oracle support? And we've got a whole program. Again, we've got a class on Paliversity on how to do that. There's about 10 different ways to reduce your support with Oracle. And, it really depends, where you are. Sometimes we'll walk customers all through those 10 different approaches and they'll say no 10 times, right? Sometimes they say, these 4 are great. Let's pursue those 4, right? So we've got, again, another methodology. where we walk clients through, here are the 10 different ways. And then we want to look at your filters. You know, does this method, can you get it through your contracts? Does it meet your business needs, right? So there's almost sort of two levels of review. We've also seen some more flexibility from Oracle in the last 6 months, not major flexibility, but we have been able to negotiate. We've been able to negotiate things with Oracle that we haven't been able to negotiate in previous years. So I think the COVID-19 crisis has obviously put some pressure on them. They missed their earnings in their last quarter. So this quarter is pretty significant. So if there's a chance to straight up negotiate with Oracle, I think it's going to happen soon. But that probably fade away shortly when they get their footing back and their revenues come back. So there's lots of ways to, Rimini Street, third-party support is a great way to reduce your Oracle costs. You can bring it down to zero, right? And that works for a lot. We have 30, 40 customers who have gone that route. But some customers don't want to go down that route for whatever reason. So evaluating each one of those, and it's the same as what we just talked about. If you have the leverage, you're going to get cost down. And sometimes that cost is, around the edges. It's going to be a lack of an increase. Sometimes it'll be a real hard dollar cost reduction, right? So you pay $5 million, now you pay $2 million. So it really depends on your situation. But there are lots of ways. Again, people think repricing, matching support, reinstatement fees, those are all things that to get you to believe you can't reduce your support costs. Extended support, all those types of things. But there's always a way, right? There's always a way to do it. It's just a matter of whether you want to go down that path or not. Anything else, Marissa?
Nope, those were all of our questions that we had.
Awesome. Well, I hope this was helpful. And again, maybe you got one or two nuggets out of this that will help you in your current negotiations. I would really appreciate your time today. Again, if you need some help from one of our assistants, please reach out to us at Palisade Compliance. Or if you want to do it on your own, sign up for our training. And you'll have access to all of our negotiation classes, not only how to negotiate with Oracle, but what to negotiate with Oracle, which I think is really important, and how to reduce your support costs is another class there. So thanks everyone for your time and have a great day today. Good luck with Oracle.